Refugees from flooded regions in Belgium and the Netherlands continue to pour into Scandinavia.
All forms of life have been wiped clean from the megacity.
The landfill inferno in the remnants of Atlantic City continues to rage on.
Nanobees terrorize the residents of Milan.
As much as 20% of the continent is no longer suitable for human habitation.
Hazardous levels of lead and cadmium in your tap water.
Schools and hospitals have been closed until further notice.
And rogue autonomous submarines continue to attack freight vessels.
12,000 were killed instantly by the blast.
The people of Turkey are bracing themselves for a radioactive sandstorm.
And thousands more later succumbed to acute radiation sickness.
The 27-year-old confessed to the murder of 21 people, including his own sister and mother.
27 people died and another 47 were injured.
10 people are confirmed dead and 16 injured.
35 people were pronounced dead at the scene and another 20 remain in critical condition.
Officers in the NCPD
put their lives on the line for us every day.
This is an abomination born of unchecked vanity.
Out of the car! Hands up!
Easy, officer. Relax.
Shut your mouth!
Oh, shit.
Our job today is to inspect the news broadcasts of Night City.
A dead city livens up the news today. Following the catastrophic use of biological weapons in Busan during the Militech-Arasaka conflict of the early 2020s, essentially all forms of life have been wiped clean from the megacity. Though not all in the city lie still. Automated systems powered by local tidal energy continue to operate unsupervised. NetWatch has warned that without proper maintenance, any Busan-based AI could, in time, pose a considerable threat.
This is Busan. 3.6 million people used to live here. Now it's a ghost town. It appears that Busan was destroyed during something called the Fourth Corporate War, which was a major conflict, think World War III level conflict between Militech and Arasaka. More on them later. You're a Night City resident, you get home after an 18-hour shift and you're ready to get angry, so you turn on the news. Crime, poverty, corrupt politicians, Antarctica.
Have we found heaven on Earth? Permanent human settlement on Antarctica is celebrating 10 years today. A wealth of natural resources hidden under the ice has spurred on the continent's rapid economic development. Though some environmental degradation has occurred as a result, inhabitants of the South Pole are still enjoying life as Antarctica's first dollhouse was recently opened. But perhaps most appealing to locals and newcomers alike is the astonishingly low crime level. Antarcticans enjoy a murder rate of only 70 per 100,000 residents.
Antarctica is a continent larger than Europe, but no one really stayed there, not permanently at least. Some brave scientists would hang out and then bounce. Given there's at least one city here, that means Earth has probably gotten a little warm. What's really interesting from this clip, beyond a new continent to settle, is that the people there enjoy a murder rate of 70 per 100,000. Some of you might be thinking, oh, well, like 70 per 100,000? That's not that bad, right? Wrong. That's terrible. Like, it would be the second highest in our world, only losing out to some place called the Turks and Caicos Islands. Do not correct my pronunciation on that. Don't do it. For reference, the United States has a murder rate of 5.763 in 2023. Watching the news in Night City is like opening your blinds in the morning and getting flashbanged. It's too much noise, too much information, all at once. Finding a doctor can feel like that too. Overwhelming for no good reason. That's why this video is sponsored by ZocDoc. Getting to the doctor can be challenging enough as it is. Who are you supposed to call? Are you going to the right kind of doctor? And when you get there, are they actually going to listen to your issue or just rush you through the process and send you on your way with a prescription and an extra dose of confusion? That's a big reason we put this stuff off. It's not the appointment itself necessarily, just the process around it. It's important to understand here. ZocDoc is not healthcare. That's not what this is. It streamlines the process of getting you healthcare. ZocDoc is a free website where you can search and compare in-network doctors who take your insurance, who are close to you, and who have appointments that can fit your schedule. One of my favorite features is that before you commit to an appointment, you can read through a doctor's patient reviews, which gives you a window into what your experience might be like. They have over 150,000 providers across all 50 states covering nearly everything from primary care, dentistry, eye care, and dermatology. I really enjoy running. It's a good way to get away from the computer and go see the world. I had some health issues pop up recently that have kept me away from that a bit. Thing is, I don't have a PCP because I moved to a new city recently, so I opened up ZocDoc and very quickly I was able to find a new doctor that took my insurance, had good reviews, and was less than 15 minutes away from me. I had my appointment scheduled for the very next day. Typically, they're anywhere from 24 to 72 hours. Sometimes you can even schedule an appointment the same day. If you've been putting off making an appointment, stop delaying, start getting the care you need. I know it may seem small, but just following the link in the description or the pinned comment at ZocDoc.com/NVRanger will take you to the website and show you just how easy the process is. Thank you to ZocDoc for sponsoring this video. We may have gained land in Antarctica, but we're losing land elsewhere. Let's see how things are going in Europe.
In Northern Europe, the humanitarian crisis has worsened. Refugees from flooded regions in Belgium and the Netherlands continue to pour into Scandinavia. Sweden has responded with force, sinking over a dozen refugee vessels in recent weeks. Despite humanitarian efforts, nearly 60 people have been killed.
I mean, really, what do you want them to do? Help their neighbors out? This is ridiculous. These people are Vikings. They're just doing what their ancestors always did, shooting missiles at refugee boats. They're too busy anyway. They have to give out an award to the world's greatest author. I can tell by the social and cultural climate right now that you guys are going to love this one. This is going to really win Sweden back over in your eyes. Just give them a chance.
The Swedish Academy Award for Literature has announced its latest recipient, Virginia Grantchester, citing her most recent book, In the Shade of an Apple Tree, as a treasure of this generation. Grantchester, who is an AI created by Raven Microcybernetics, has been lauded for several of her works over the years. Her first novel, Requiem for a Samurai, which was published in 70 languages simultaneously, sold over 3 million copies. In the Shade of an Apple Tree is a drama set in 20th century Ireland and is already considered a masterpiece of post-collapse literature.
When she says post-collapse, what she's referring to is the collapse that happened in the late 90s and early 2000s in this universe. It's a huge demarcation line between the cyberpunk world and ours. It's an enormously detailed event, but long story short, world governments lose a significant amount of power and begin to be undermined by large corporations. Imagine that you're born in the Netherlands with a passion to write, but your home is flooded and all of your paper goes with it. Then you think, okay, well, I'm gonna flee to Sweden. Your family is killed in a boat, and then you get to Sweden to write about your tragic life, but then an AI does it for you, and it doesn't give you any credit. So now you're angry, you can't even be an author, so you think, you know what, I'm just gonna go join the Swiss Army.
Switzerland has officially become the first nation committed to a fully automated military by 2080. Already, 90% of the Swiss armed forces consist of Lobos, drones, and automated vehicles. The Officer Corps makes up the remaining 10%. As the Swiss government phases out its current Officer Corps, they will begin implementation of the CVS Pacem automated command system. As stated in the government's official press release, Switzerland can at last achieve its goal of true neutrality. CVS Pacem will secure our borders but will never position Switzerland as the aggressor.
Well, what the hell? You can't be an author in Sweden, you can't be an army guy in Switzerland, so you think, fine, I'll just go to Venice.
Meanwhile, in Europe, the Pedanian government is once again in the midst of a campaign to prevent illegal excavations and looting in the city of Venice. 4 looters and 7 carabinieri were killed in the most recent altercation. This city, submerged under the Adriatic Sea, still hides many centuries-old and priceless works of art. High demand from collectors has spurred on the continued looting. Official figures estimate the net worth of Venetian sculptures and jewelry sold illegally on the black market would be equivalent to 1/3 of the Pedanian economy's GDP. IP. Most stolen works eventually find their way to collectors in private orbital stations, making reclamation a difficult process.
Clearly, a lot of flooding going on in Europe, but there's more to the story here. The city of Venice is underwater, submerged in the Adriatic Sea. That's news on its own. Venice is a city within Italy, but notice that Arif mentions the Padanian government, not the Italian government. Padania is an alternate name for a proposed independent state of northern Italy, meaning the country in this universe has likely split, leaving Europe with a new nation. And while we're in Italy, or I guess while we're in Padania,
Freak accident or targeted attack. Nanobees terrorize the residents of Milan. Eyewitness accounts tell us 7 million of the Fenghuang nanobots suddenly ceased their pollination functions and buzzed straight for the Lombardy capital, though the cause remains unknown. The nanobees infested several buildings and moving vehicles, causing numerous reported accidents. The mayor of Milan, Lorenzo Ricci, announced the formation of an investigative committee to determine the cause behind the bizarre phenomena.
Sure, the nanobees are interesting in their own right, but notice the part where he said they ceased their pollination function. The nanobees are just a part of life now to simulate the function bees used to serve, I guess, likely meaning bees are extinct. These broadcasts are very clever. You can't just take them at face value. Each one is presented as a relatively normal story for this world, but if you pay attention, they're generally revealing a distinct reality, something that is different about this world from ours, while also drawing parallels between the two.
In mainland Europe and the Mediterranean, the humanitarian crisis has grown worse. According to the latest report, as much as 20% of the continent is no longer suitable for human habitation. Temperatures in Sicily, Malta, and the Cyclades have reached as high as 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Air pollution in Poland, Bulgaria, and Romania now exceeds the continent's average by more than 2,000%. However, heads of state in France, England, and Germany have issued a joint statement in which they preclude the option of government intervention. Their statement reads, quote, "Interference by government authority is interference in the free market. The disruption of natural market mechanisms only serves to hinder the optimal path for solutions to current problems." End quote.
The locations they mentioned being 140 degrees Fahrenheit are all islands in the Mediterranean right here. That should give you an idea of the problem areas and also what nearby locations might be suffering quite a bit as well. We'll get back to looking around the globe, but there's another layer to these broadcasts you have to understand. There are two relevant stations for people to get their news from, Network 54 and the World News Service, also known as WNS. N54's host is Jillian Jordan, a rare blonde magenta cockatoo, and WNS's host, Aquif Rickball. Sorry, what was that? Huh? Oh, it's Arif Iqbal. Okay. You may be familiar with where this is going if you watched our report on the TV shows of this world. Take a look at the same story being covered in very different ways by each station.
Night City is still in a state of mourning following the death of Arasaka CEO Saburo Arasaka. Flags on all city buildings were lowered to half-mast, and all major public events have been postponed until further notice. Daughter and heiress Hanako Arasaka recently arrived in the city in the wake of the tragedy. A wake will be held at Arasaka headquarters tomorrow at noon, after which the late CEO's remains will be transported to their final resting place back in his native Japan.
Notice how he's guiding the narrative, talking about how all of Night City is mourning the tragedy, when in reality, Arif is probably more in touch with the number of moles on Saburo's 150-year-old face than he is with how the average Night City resident feels. Now watch how different the reporting is from N54 on the same exact situation.
We return to this week's biggest story, the murder of Arasaka Corporation CEO Saburo Arasaka. The longtime head of the Japanese megacorporation was reported slain on the premises of the Konpeki Plaza corporate hotel while attending a family gathering. Saburo Arasaka's son, Yorinobu Arasaka, has cast blame for his father's murder on the company's rivals, although he has not yet provided evidence supporting this claim. According to market analysts, the CEO's death may have been a desperate attempt to divert attention away from the company's ongoing internal issues.
They could just say, Saburo died, haha, but what they do is way more sinister than that. they allude to the idea that Saburo was killed by his own company to distract people from the fact that the company was having internal issues, while also showing an image that alludes to the idea that Arasaka's stock was already plummeting before Saburo's death, which, as far as we know, isn't true. They only take that big hit after Saburo dies. This all reinforces an idea that Arasaka is weak and Saburo was weak and this is just a frantic mess of a company, when in reality, Saburo was killed by his son due to family issues and family drama. He wasn't killed off by the company for some sort of financial or economic reason. The battle for this narrative control only gets worse when Saburo decides to suck his own son's soul out of his ear hole and do a victory PR campaign like he just won a Nobel Peace Prize. If Sweden was giving it out, he probably did.
Saburo Arasaka lives once more, though now in the body of his son. The CEO was reported dead months ago, but now it's been revealed that a copy of his consciousness was made before his death. It appears his consciousness was used to override that of his son and heir Yorinobu Arasaka. This shocking development was revealed at a press conference earlier today.
皆さん、いらっしゃい。祖父はよく、枯れ落ちた花は枝に戻らないと言っていました。人は誰も物心ついた瞬間から死を恐れるものです。ついに人類最大の恐怖が克服されました。私、三郎荒坂は今、息子の体を使い、皆さんの前に立っています。私はかつて頼信に生を与えました。彼は愛する父のためにそれを返してくれたのです。私のいない間、頼信は会社を変革しようといくつかの決定を下しましたが、これは過ちでした。私の指揮のもと、荒坂社は元の姿を取り戻します。決して揺らぐことのない強い荒坂が帰ってくることを約束いたします。ご清聴ありがとうございました。
Today is truly a historic day. Today, technology has fulfilled the promise left empty by religion. Saburo-sama, makoto ni omedetou gozaimasu.
WNS puts this really positive spin on this really cryptic and strange situation, but N54 is not going to be nearly as kind. They are now going to weaponize the public against Arasaka.
The world remains gripped by the revelation that Saburo Arasaka has returned from the dead in the body of his son, Yorinobu Arasaka. A letter of protest regarding the apparent resurrection has been signed by religious leaders, human rights groups, and Virtue 100 company CEOs.
This is an abomination born of unchecked vanity, technocratic arrogance, complete moral collapse.
The guy with a gold cross bedazzled to his forehead actually has a name. That's Reverend Culver. He's something of a recurring character in Night City's TV show ecosystem. On one hand, he's showing us how irrelevant, or at best, warped religion has become in this universe. But more importantly, he's showing us a major shift in power dynamics. Large institutions like world governments or the church are now closer in power and influence to your average person than they are to megacorps like Arasaka.
Our position is clear. Saburo Arasaka's seizure of power is in violation of international law. International arbitration is absolutely necessary to...
Believe it or not, that was President Myers before she got a makeover to look like her favorite House of Cards character.
Do we really want to live in a world where the rich and powerful can become immortal? Where they can continue to take from the poor, not only their livelihoods, but even their bodies? You are God!
Night City residents are also making their voices heard. A protest outside of Arasaka's Night City headquarters has extended to its second day. But Saburo Arasaka has issued his response in similarly strong terms. There will be no appeasement.
荒坂社内部の出来事に関して外部の方々にとやかく言われる筋合いはありません。生を受けることに許可が必要ない以上、蘇ることも同様であると考えるべきです。私が息子を殺めたなどという主張は事実無根。法的根拠もありません。合意の上での身体の贈与は一種の寄付に分類することができ、殺人には到底値しません。殺人の条件は生物学的な死です。見ての通り、この体は生きています。
Will the world accept Saburo Arasaka's argument and bend to his will? I'll ask our experts after the break.
The N54 clip shows a very different side to the newly evolved Saboranobu, where he's directly antagonistic to anyone who disagrees with him committing a newly discovered war crime against his own child. You need this context when watching these clips. In isolation, you might think the game is simply informing you on the universe. It's much, much smarter than that. You're actively being fed loaded, biased, and intentional bits of information. WNS has a very pro-Arasaka lean, and N54 is hardcore Militech and NUSA. Watch the WNS report on a trade agreement between India and China, only to randomly dunk on the NUSA despite having no relevance to the story.
The summit between China and India has ended with the signing of a new trade agreement. Under the agreement, the tariffs for iridium, dysprosium, and lanthanum, rare metals necessary for the construction of the Chi-Yu-2 orbital station, have been lifted. The signatories have also agreed to the free movement of organic persons and biopodders between the two countries. This is the latest step in the two nations' push for greater economic integration and the benefits such cooperation brings. This flies in stark contrast to the NUSA's protectionism and trade war policies under President Myers.
I'm like, what did he say fuck me for?
It's not even a matter of whether he's right or wrong. He's almost certainly right about the NUS at least, but it's just that it's intentionally included to push a narrative with no regard for how hypocritical it is for Arasaka-backed news to be throwing around those kinds of criticisms. Now watch N54 talk about that time Arasaka's Night City HQ got nuked.
The 54th anniversary of the AHQ disaster is fast approaching. In 2023, Night City was shaken to its core by the detonation of a tactical nuclear bomb in Arasaka's NC headquarters. 12,000 were killed instantly by the blast, and thousands more later succumbed to acute radiation sickness. This tragic incident, which some ultimately attribute to Arasaka's wanton imperialist tendencies, has forever left a mark on our city's history.
In case you don't know, Militech was largely behind that attack, despite what Johnny's recollection of the event would have you think. That was much more a result of a cataclysmic war between Arasaka and Militech, and much less a Rocker Boy's daring attempt to overthrow corporate supremacy. You can find a shard that lists the top 5 employers in Night City with Arasaka in first place. Interesting. Let's see what N54 has to say about that.
For the third consecutive year, Militech has been touted as Night City's best corporation to work for. This prestigious award can be attributed to the numerous employee benefits they offer, such as 5 paid vacation days a year, unlimited access to stimulant pharmaceuticals, and implant acquisition assistance. Were that not impressive enough, 34% of Militech employees have also been promised a retirement package.
This is a great example of how the news can take any information they want and spin it in the direction that suits their narrative. 5 whole paid vacation days could also be you only get 5 paid vacation days and this is supposed to be the best company to work for. Then when it goes against their narrative, they can look at a workers' rights protest and call those people terrorists.
In Arroyo, a terrorist group dubbing itself a trade union has been eradicated. These self-proclaimed representatives of Night City's working class attempted to organize a strike, which could have led to financial losses in the millions. Remember, if you come across these so-called union representatives, immediately contact the NCPD or the appropriate corporate security forces.
This isn't a one-off instance, and it's not just in the NUS either. This world is actively hostile to anything that gets close to workers' rights.
In Antony, just outside of Paris, dangerous left-wing political extremist Thomas Clichy was finally apprehended. Clichy has sowed unrest for years, urging European governments to restore pensions, annuities, and social benefits, despite arguments from most economists that such changes would sink GDP growth rates. Clichy faces up to 40 years in prison and is subject to brain dance rehabilitation therapy.
Oftentimes, the news will report on events you directly experience as V, but the way they portray those events will leave you with nothing but frustration as you are dismissed and lied about on national television.
We've just received word on a breaking story. A Kang Tao AV has crashed outside of Night City. The aircraft's thrusters were deactivated by sudden EMP discharge, discharge from a nearby damaged power station in Santo Domingo. The emergency landing attempt proved unsuccessful. The passengers who survived the crashed landing were met by a band of nomads. Fortunately, Kang Tao's surviving security personnel managed to fend off the attack without suffering additional losses. The company has already announced a forceful response against the nomads' camps.
This might be an indication that corpos can purchase one-off propaganda coverage if they so desire. N54 is usually Militech's station, but competitor Kang Tao is getting the good service here. It's not involving Militech, just making Kang Tao look like the victims and the heroes of the situation all at once. Kang Tao's security team gets crushed, Anders Hellman, the VIP on board that AV, gets kidnapped, and the true faces of the opposition in V and Pan Am never get mentioned. Kang Tao gets whooped and never really does anything about it, but the story keeps them at the center of things. What happened to the Corp? What did the Corp do in response? What will they do in the future? What's their message? That's all that matters. Notice there's no mention about why they were attacked. They never humanize the other side. They don't put a face to the opposition. We can see a very similar instance once again reporting on the Nomad attack on the Militech convoy. Watch how N54 covers this story.
A Militech humanitarian convoy was attacked by a ruthless band of nomad outlaws. Corporate security forces responded with force only as a last resort after their escape route had been cut off. Although several Militech vehicles suffered damage, the nomads have failed to open them. Reinforcements called to the attack site managed to repel the assailants and secure the transport's cargo. Unfortunately, approximately a dozen employees were killed in the assault, including veteran of the Unification War and Crimson Heart recipient Linda Nopes. To the families of those who perished, we at N54 News offer our sincerest condolences. With the NCPD's cooperation, Militech has already announced a retaliatory strike on nearby nomad camps.
Yes, sincerest condolences. If you don't recall, in this mission, V, Pan Am, and the Aldecaldos use a train to attack the humanitarian convoy. They get the equipment and win the instance pretty handedly. N54 once again makes the Corpo the hero and the victim, and again, the center of the story. If I gave you two headlines and told you pick one to click, here they are. Humanitarian convoy attacked, but they win the day. War hero killed in action. Versus strange group of unknown individuals uses abandoned nuclear train to steal high-tech military equipment, and they're still on the loose. The lie is getting less traction. The interesting through line of this story is being buried. Why? Because there are only two places for you to get your news. They don't have competition on the airwaves, so they don't have to worry about telling an interesting story even. They just worry about telling the corporate story they're paid to tell. You've probably noticed at this point that we're calling the United States NUSA or the NUS. What's the point of that? Well, the US collapsed. It's not what it once was. Remember how northern Italy split into its own country, Padania? The US has some similar happenings. For example, NUSA and the Republic of Texas might be going to war.
In New Mexico and Oklahoma, a new bout of unrest has erupted in the wake of suicide blasts at NUS bases. President Myers has openly blamed the Republic of Texas for the attacks. In a swift reprisal, NUS forces carried out a series of bombings on Texan airports in Wellington and El Paso. Although both sides have expressed a desire to avoid further escalation of the conflict, bookies have put the odds of a full-blown border war at 3-1.
This isn't just some random tidbit of information with the NUS and Texas potentially going to war. There's actually an underlying narrative at play here, and it's not a small one. Take a listen to this.
At this year's Federalist Party National Convention, NUS President Rosalind Myers announced her intent to run for another term. Her campaign slogan, "A Return to Unity," sends a clear message of the president's desire to, quote, strive for unification on every possible front. According to an N54 News poll, approximately 78% of Night City residents would like their city to join the Union. Time will tell if the hopes of these many people will be realized.
Arif has been building up rage as N54 was slamming dunks on Senpai Saburo that he has an enormous rant for us where he tears apart President Myers as a person, a leader, and reveals her questionable relationship between company and state.
President Myers has officially announced her bid for another term in the upcoming election. Political analysts have argued that the risk for large-scale conflict in North America stands to increase further under Meyer's continued leadership. Meyer's cornerstone policy is her so-called unification plan, which many claim will severely limit civic freedoms and our inalienable right to self-determination. President Myers also hasn't shied away from her ties to Militech, where she led as CEO for nearly a decade. The interventionist and protectionist stance she adopted while there may prove a stable bedrock for economic growth in the NUSA, true, but risk considerable damage to the rest of America and Night City. Myers has also established herself as a staunch opponent of Arasaka Corp. She has repeatedly refused to sign truce agreements proposed by CEO Saburo Arasaka. What's more, her role in the so-called Busan Holocaust remains shrouded in mystery, a senseless tragedy that extinguished millions of lives. Despite numerous appeals, Militech has refused to disclose documents related to the merciless attack. The consensus among experts confirms that Myers' re-election would spell disaster, not only for the NUSA, but for all of North America. If you'd like to sign a petition in opposition to her candidacy, please visit the address below.
There's a reason they're using those terms, unity and unification. It's in reference to the Unification War that actually just ended not long before 2077. There's a lot going on here, so to keep it simple, Arasaka backs the Free States, which consist of the Western United States largely, and Militech/NUSA back the East. And Texas is trapped somewhere in the middle of this mess. Militech was nationalized by the NUS, so they've sort of merged into one entity. Rosalind Myers, the current president of the NUS, is the former CEO of Militech, so you can see just how incestuous their relationship is. The Free States, on the other hand, aren't just under one simple banner, though. They've almost formed individual countries in their own right.
The Western corporate states recently announced a new visa program. Persons intending to relocate there must first find a sponsor from among WCS-affiliated companies. Following a 20-year employment period within the WCS, visa holders can earn the right to permanent residence, a marriage license, and a single-child permit.
The WCS includes Washington State, Oregon, and Idaho, so that's sort of its own nation in North America now.
We begin the broadcast with troubling news from the state line. South California reportedly opened fire on a migrant caravan attempting to penetrate the wall. 27 people died and another 47 were injured. The surviving migrants are now being held at an undisclosed facility. This is just another in a series of similar incidents this year already. The South Californian government has so far declined to comment. This tragedy further emphasizes the need for unity under President Myers' leadership. It is only under the guiding influence of the NUS government that future bloodshed can be avoided. To sign a petition calling on the Night City Council to rejoin the Union, please visit the address at the bottom of your screen.
California is a very interesting case. Notice how it's split into two distinct states. The California Republic in SoCal is a part of the NUSA, and now the North is known as the state of Jefferson, which is a member of the Free States. Night City isn't a part of either, sitting directly on the border. This is actually central to the ongoing election happening within Night City between Mayor Holt and Jefferson Perales. Holt is in the Devolutionist Party, representing the interests of the Free States and Arasaka. Perales is a part of the Federalist Party on the side of NUSA and Militech. It might be confusing to try and understand exactly who they are without that context. Holt wasn't supposed to be a part of this election, though. Incumbent Mayor Lucius Rhine was the guy in charge, and he was beating Perales in the polls. Unfortunately, he got caught trying to beat something else in a club and was assassinated.
Today is a sad one in our city's history. Mayor Lucius Rhine has passed away. We learned of Mayor Rhine's death from his family. He died peacefully in his sleep. The exact cause of his death has not been released, but initial reports suggest coronary implant failure. The remainder of Mayor Rhine's term will be fulfilled by his deputy mayor and closest associate, Weldon Holt. Holt has also announced plans to run for mayor in the upcoming election.
They want you to think the XXL Burritos took out Rhine. They must have forgot they reported on the story where someone made a failed assassination attempt against him, which left everyone very suspicious when the 59-year-old killed over from an implant failure despite his waistline, it still seemed too suspicious.
The cyber psycho attack on Night City Mayor Lucius Rhine. The crazed assailant attacked the mayor during a press conference, but fortunately was stopped by NCPD detective River Ward before the worst could happen. Celebrated by the press as Super Cop, today Ward was given the Medal of Merit by the mayor. What could have been a horrible tragedy may be a blessing in disguise for the mayor who seeks another term in the upcoming mayoral election. According to the latest polls in wake of the attack, Rhine's lead over his opponent Jefferson Perales has jumped from 12 to 19 percentage points.
Despite something clearly being wrong with the situation and neither candidate actually knowing what happened to Rhine, rather than question the circumstances, they both try and get the competitive edge and benefit politically from his death.
Today, we all mourn the untimely loss of our mayor and dear friend, Lucius Rhine. But when we've dried our tears, we must look to the future. To the future Lucius envisioned for our fair city. I promise to do everything in my power to ensure his work will continue on. Rest in peace, my friend.
Look, Mayor Ryan and I often did not meet eye to eye on political matters, and we sometimes traded sharp words. But even after our most heated debates, we always shared a handshake of mutual respect. Today, I say farewell to him for the last time. Thank you, Lucius, for everything you've done for our city.
Who next will assume Rhine's mantle? We'll find out soon. The first polls following Rhine's death reveal a neck-and-neck race between Holt and Perales.
So now with Rhine out of the picture and the crocodile tears are all dried up, we can get to the debate between these two candidates.
But we cannot forget, corporations are Night City's largest tax base, contributing 700 billion euro dollars last year alone.
A large sum, yes, I won't deny that. But just what percent of their profits does that amount to?
Jefferson, please. I don't think we want to bore our viewers with the nitty-gritty of the tax code.
Don't worry, Weldon. I'll take the blame if we bore anyone this evening. What percent of their profits did the city's 20 largest corporations pay?
I'm afraid I'd have to consult the Department of Taxation.
0.7%. That's what they pay. 0.7.
Gentlemen, I'd like to remind you not to interrupt.
Do you truly believe this amount is fair and equitable?
I won't be bullied by your accusations and finger-pointing. Yes, taxes are low, and that's good. When corporations prosper, so does the community.
And that's especially true for you, isn't it, Weldon? How much was it your campaign received from the Kangtao Corporation?
Well, maybe you'd care to tell us how much money you keep on the Cayman Islands.
I don't know how many times I have to explain. My accountant acted without my permission, and as soon as I found out...
Without your permission? Do you take me for an idiot, Perales?
Please, let's keep this debate civil.
On that, I think everyone will agree. We'll be right back with our coverage of the mayoral debate.
It's easy to mistake while listening to this debate that Holt is the pro-corporate candidate and Perales is the anti-corporate candidate, but Perales is in the Federalist Party, the same party President Myers is in, meaning Perales is intrinsically tied to Militech. How can you be anti-corporate when you're tied to one of, if not the largest corporations in the world?
Incumbent Weldon Holt of the Devolutionist Party received 47.8% of the vote, despite allegations of his complicity in the murder of Lucius Rhine, former mayor of Night City. But in a close race, Federalist candidate Jefferson Perales still seized the election with 49.3% of the vote.
We actually get to know the results of the election. Despite there being two potential outcomes, both result in Jefferson Perales and the Federalist Party winning in Night City, which gives you an indication as to where things are headed.
Incumbent Weldon Holt of the Devolutionist Party received a paltry 27.2% of the vote. His campaign floundered following charges filed against him in a murder investigation of Lucius Rhine, former mayor of Night City. Federalist candidate Jefferson Perales won a resounding victory with 70.7% of the vote. In his concession speech, Mayor Holt offered his congratulations to the victor. Now we see whether Perales will be able to realize his ambitious campaign promises. After the break, when will the Corsairs end their losing streak?
Someone clearly didn't want the devolutionists in power in Night City, with Rhine being assassinated and Holt being framed for it, who didn't do it as far as we know. He was awkwardly close to the situation though, which led to him trying to cover it up with the whole coronary implant story, and it all ends up biting him in the ass in the long run. The question we're left with is, who exactly is behind this and why did they want the Federalists to win? I don't think it's as simple as they're pro-Noosa and Militech, but it's a mystery I'll leave you to speculate on. This is all building towards a war between the two powers, and Night City could be ground zero for a major battle, meaning the next time we see Night City, it might look very different, whether that's because it's destroyed and beat up, or because it's been destroyed and rebuilt and rearranged to look very different than what we know. That has happened before. There is precedent for this. Night City is not a stagnant place. All this is probably making you really thirsty, so go ahead and pour a nice tall glass from the tap.
Attention Charter Hill residents. A recent study commissioned by All Foods has shown hazardous levels of lead and cadmium in your tap water that pose a significant risk to human health. The Night City Department of Water Management has attributed any elevated toxicity to obsolete municipal piping, though has made no plans for their replacement. Drinking bottled water remains the safest way to reduce your risk of waterborne illness. And remember, it's always cheapest at All Foods.
That last line might be the most concerning of the whole report. Always cheapest at All Foods, which begs the question, how bad is the tap water actually? It's gotta be terrible, right? But they did a promo at the end of a PSA to sell more bottled water full of microplastics. We've seen and probably will continue to see so many instances where the news straight up lies to you. But that doesn't mean you should do the opposite of what they say. They want you to buy their sponsor's water. That doesn't mean the tap water isn't bad. Watch it happen again. Similar story, this time regarding food.
In a troubling turn, 12 fatalities have been reported in Vista del Rey. City coroners have confirmed botulism as the cause of death. It appears the common thread between all the victims is the same type of canned meat. The NCPD urges everyone to purchase meat only from approved culinary labs. Meat butchered from natural sources is likely to contain harmful toxins and pathogens.
We have to wonder again, are they trying to get people not to eat natural meat because big business has moved to synthetic, cheaper to make alternatives, or is there an actual high risk of botulism in eating natural meat from a can? It probably isn't an either-or situation. It very well may be both. Botulism is a rare illness that can occur from a few things, one being eating improperly canned foods, and it can absolutely kill you. You do not want to be the guinea pig conspiracy theorist finding out if they're telling the truth about the natural meat in those cans. Both instances leave us in a place where the corporations own the labs that can research the truth and the news networks that can push the message. They dominate the narrative, and we're left with the nearly impossible task of knowing what's true and what's just a manipulative sales tactic without directly risking our own health. So most people are just going to take their word for it. Think about the topics here. Futuristic world, and people are worried about base survival elements like food and water, whether they're drinking it or drowning in it. These next two clips make a lot more sense in that context.
The homeless population in Night City has risen by 300%. The NCPD has announced that it will soon launch a sweeping catch and release program to relocate the vagrants outside city limits. The police are asking any willing volunteers eager to help in the effort to report to their local NCPD station. In exchange, the police are offering the chance of a criminal record reset to those who actively participate.
Hear that sneaky bit in the end? If you turn yourself in to be deported from Night City, they will wipe your criminal record. But if they deport you from Night City, you're not their problem anymore. So if these people end up in another city, even if they're murderers or worse, no one will know. This deal doesn't seem to apply to those living in Watson's sewers, though.
And now, an important message for Watson residents. The homelessness problem plaguing the district's sewer system will be addressed as fumigation of the tunnels begins tomorrow. Due to the use of potent neurotoxins, Watson residents are urged to stay clear of storm drains and sewer entrances to minimize risk of injury and death.
They're treating people like an infestation. Rodents, fumigate them out. It's more than that though. Not just the homeless, but also the average person breathing the nearby air, the impact on the local water sources if it wasn't bad enough, and exposing the public to a mass killing very candidly. The darkest part is the people in the sewer are the least likely to see the broadcast. They'll have no idea it's coming. I'm sure all of this joyful news makes you want a friend to share it with. How about man's best friend.
Today's final story is an unwelcome one for pet owners. The canine ownership tax will increase to €1,000 per dog per month. Similarly, the fine for possessing an undocumented animal will increase to €40,000.
Kind of strange, we don't even see rich people with dogs in Night City. Unless you have a whole lot of main character energy to spare, you can't even get a cat. But at least we have rats.
NCARD representatives have said to expect ongoing delays on the M2 Metro line. Arroyo Station was evacuated after its early warning system detected a massive population of rats dwelling in one of the tunnels. Pest control was immediately called to exterminate the infestation, but the NC Transport Authority has announced the station will remain closed until further notice.
Okay, this is actually kind of interesting. Stick with me. I was curious if we could find a station closed in Arroyo. There isn't really, but the line does leave the Woolison station and split into a dead end for the rail, which happens to get you close to Mega Building H4. Mega Building H4 is closed due to a plague. What's even more interesting is that this mega building was home to a gang known as the Rat Kings. We don't know for sure, but did the Rat Kings summon up a swarm of rats through the metro tunnels in their mega building? Animals are often the cause of plagues in this universe.
In science news, Biotechnica researchers have announced another breakthrough in genetics: the restoration of 3 previously extinct animal species: the North American beaver, the swift fox, and the eastern cottontail. Though back from the dead, these species will not be reintroduced to their natural habitats for fear of an increased risk of zoonotic disease, similar to the Great Bird Flu of 2061 and the rat fever of 2072. For the time being, the animals will only be grown on special order.
Yeah, rat fever of 2072. I think we may have figured out what was going on in this mega building. Makes you wonder what it's like in there now. Were the bodies left inside and now this mega building is just a giant rat nest? We can hear this sentiment again all the way in Australia.
Australia says farewell to the last koala living in the wild, affectionately dubbed Omega. Though technically a wild animal living on the outskirts of Sydney, the city government supported the fluffy marsupial with 11 pounds of eucalyptus leaves and fresh water from the municipal botanical garden every day. Omega garnered huge media attention a few years ago when Sydney residents organized a protest in response to the planned euthanasia by Blue Mountain Disease Control of nature's last surviving real-life teddy bear.
I know the rest of this video has been really peachy, and I'm sorry to slip in this sudden Debbie Downer with the story of Earth's last koala. They named the koala Omega as in Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, given this koala is the end of koalas. If you look hard enough, you can see the spirit of Steve Irwin looking at you through this koala's eyes, asking, "What have you done?" While it's got multiple wounds, trash wrapped around it, and instead of a tree, it's on metal infrastructure. It's probably wondering where the wires go. You think? Think he's wondering that? He's a curious fella. Crikey, where them wires go? I understand if you're feeling kind of frustrated right now. You know, they're killing all the animals, you got crappy food and water, you're not even allowed to have your own pet without paying out the ass for it, but don't worry. I have a solution for you. Take it away, Iqbal.
Ever dreamed of being a head of state? Now may be your chance. Luxury real estate firm No Limits at All has announced another 15 artificial islands available for sale now. Each island spans at least 3 square miles and possesses a foundation built to withstand an 8 on the Richter scale. Because they are located in international waters, island owners fall under no nation's jurisdiction and are free to establish and enforce local law and custom. For more information on your future slice of paradise, visit the address below.
See, I'm a problem solver, you know? You don't want to pay that ridiculous pet tax, just go buy your own private island and you can do whatever the hell you want. There's only one small, and really, it's like tiny. It's a very little issue with going to live on your own island out in the middle of the ocean right now. Really, it's small, just...
In the world of shipping, many ask, when will our oceans be open to us again? In the wake of the Red Decade, key shipping channels remain littered with undetonated explosives, and rogue autonomous submarines continue to attack freight vessels on the open seas. With shipping restricted to ground and air, transport costs have ballooned by more than 3,000%, which in turn has severely slowed the global economy. The governments of the world must step up to the task of opening our oceans for business once more. Call your representative today.
There's actually a lot more to that story. We covered it in this video. It might be a lot worse than what he's saying. It's not good. It's not good. Let's say the private island thing isn't really your speed. You're looking for something different. How about Alaska? Remember, Antarctica thawed quite a bit, so maybe Alaska's more hospitable now as well.
Reports of hardship have emerged from Alaska. According to the Incorporated Press, corn harvests have dropped by 80% from last year's yields, the result of catastrophically heavy rains and floods plaguing the region. Local authorities are under obligation to provide nearly 80 million bushels of their crop to Biotechnica, the engineers behind the frost corn hybrid species. The city of Juneau now faces a difficult choice of whether to honor the agreement, causing severe shortages in Alaska, or break the contract and forego next year's seed corn delivery from Biotechnica. Whether you believe Alaskans deserve humanitarian aid or perhaps a lesson in self-reliance, cast your vote at the address below.
Juneau is stuck in a situation where they have to give up a large percentage of their crop, inducing a pretty bad famine, or keep all of that, not have a famine this year, but next year potentially have a really bad famine where they get no crop. Notice how Arif Slimeball helped remove Biotechnica from having responsibility in the situation at the end. He doesn't ask whether or not they should be leveraging a city with the threat of famine. He's asking if a third party should provide humanitarian aid. It just goes to show that depending on the desired narrative, they can put all of the focus on the corporation or almost completely take it away. Instead of starving in Alaska, you could go to nearby Siberia and become a mole man. Or mole woman.
The Lunarinskaya uranium mine collapse that occurred just outside Novosibirsk in southern Siberia has concluded with a happy ending. As you recall, 35 miners became trapped deep underground following a high-magnitude earthquake. But thanks to their Suez Lake 2 hibernation implants, the miners were able to survive without access to food and fresh water for 2 weeks. Fortunately, after their rescue and following a brief rest for technical evaluation, the miners were able to immediately return to work.
The Soviet Union always doing right by their workers. 2 whole weeks of rest in a row and a free technical evaluation. I mean, does it get much better than that? I don't know. Let's go check out China.
China has become the first country in the world to formally ban the use of human-controlled road vehicles. From now on, Chinese citizens can use only autonomous vehicles, approved by government regulators. State-validated self-driving vehicles will be limited to pre-authorized routes, such as a person's commute to and from work. The Chinese government has given citizens a week to report all manually operated vehicles still in use, and to submit all bicycles for installation with state-issued GPS tracers.
China leading the way in surveillance. You could call them a surveillance state. I'm not going to, but you could. All right, I'll admit it, bold take, places on Earth, not doing too great, but you have options. You can always go to Mars.
Militech has announced plans to establish a new colony on the Red Planet. The proposed base will be subdivided into 3 areas: industrial, scientific, and residential. 10 residential modules are already available for purchase at a starting rate of €100 million. A hefty price, yes, but can you truly put a price on your security?
There's a whole lot more going on in space than just the Mars colony. You have cities on the moon, giant space stations, different factions vying for control. They basically took all of Earth's problems, strapped them to a rocket, and sent them into orbit. It's great. It's great. Everything's great.
In a daring orbital heist, millions of Eurodollars worth of goods were stolen from Galileo. The thieves docked with the station during a solar storm, which temporarily blinded radar systems, then breached the hull of an orbital air laboratory. The space pirates, as some have dubbed them, made away with several experimental prototypes. Their current heading is unknown, but the ESA has offered a generous reward for any assistance in apprehending the suspects.
Remember earlier we were in Europe, it was a good time, pool party and all that. Nearby Turkey is also having some fun.
The people of Turkey are bracing themselves for a radioactive sandstorm yet again this year. Meteorologists expect southern winds to carry several dozen tons of irradiated dust from the former states of Syria, Iraq, and Iran. The fallout from these territories, devastated during the so-called suicide war, remain the primary source of radiation that falls onto Europe and the eastern Mediterranean.
We start the clip with the reveal that Turkey is getting hit by a radioactive sandstorm, but the most interesting thing here is that the Middle East has largely been destroyed in nuclear war. This is part of the reason you'll find gas stations selling Chew instead of gasoline.
The last active photovoltaic solar farms have been decommissioned in Nevada and Utah. Solar power generation, once seen as the future of clean energy in America, has suffered significant setbacks in today's more extreme climate. The layer of dust suspended in our atmosphere, a result of the Himalayan wars, has limited the amount of solar radiation reaching the Earth's surface. More importantly, the increasing regularity of hurricanes and sandstorms caused frequent and costly damage to most solar farms. Unsurprisingly, wind power has fared just as poorly. The number of active turbines has plummeted by 63% over the last 15 years alone. It appears Chew will remain the uncontested leader in the energy sector for the foreseeable future.
It doesn't stop there though. Famous cities all over the world have been severely altered. There's some real interesting cases here.
For the second consecutive week, the landfill inferno in the remnants of Atlantic City continues to rage on. The 10,000-acre dumping ground ranks among the world's largest and contains both toxic and biological waste. Already, 7 firefighters combating the blaze have died, and another 40 have suffered from severe burns and toxin exposure.
Notice how she didn't say the landfill in Atlantic City? She said in the remnants of Atlantic City. Atlantic City was something of the East Coast's answer to Las Vegas. Well, it was an attempt at that anyway. Didn't really work out, but it isn't quite this bad. Don't get me wrong, people will call it a dump, and it is. But, yeah. Anyway, Detroit is doing good.
A story of optimism emerges from Detroit. The Motor City, formerly infamous for a century of economic decline and squalor, has at last reached its new golden age. As good fortune would have it, the city's numerous landfills, abandoned buildings, and industrial zones are rich in rare resources, now highly valued in today's economy. Thousands of migrants have caught junk fever and set their sights on the city in the search of electronics manufactured around the turn of the century. Undeterred by hazardous conditions and gang violence, these pioneers truly demonstrate the beauty of the American entrepreneurial spirit.
This generation's California gold rush, the Detroit junk rush. At this point, you should just stay in Night City, maybe go to college to get more knowledge.
Arasaka Corp has signed a cooperation agreement with Night City University. Professors and students now have the option to acquire an Arasaka Ozokumi SX cognitive implant on loan at a 20% discounted rate. Sources tell us installation of the implant will become a requirement for all faculty and enrolled students before long.
Maybe not. Who are they trying to fool? Kids aren't going to college in Night City. They're too busy watching their favorite streamer, Death_Penalty.
The long-awaited execution of Joaquin Schmidt, better known as the Watson Butcher, is scheduled to take place tomorrow. The 27-year-old confessed to the murder of 21 people, including his own sister and mother. His execution will be open to the public, and for those who prefer to watch from home, it will be live-streamed at the address you see at the bottom of your screen. This event's organizer, Capital Corrections Incorporated, promises a compelling spectacle as well as attractive prizes for a few lucky viewers.
People aren't watching these streams through monitors or phone screens. They're using brain dance rigs like this one, giving them a much more visceral experience for each event. We actually hear this directly referenced in this broadcast, where Arif calls this particular setup a domestic feeder unit.
After botulism, the next bug Night City will catch is Lizzy Wizzy Fever, as she announces her upcoming concert series. The world-renowned singer and artist is due to visit Night City soon. Tickets will only be available for purchase to those with a credit rating above 700. For all of Lizzy Wizzy's other fans, the concert will be available to view through domestic feeder units.
They only want the social elites there in person, and the rest of us peasants can still give them our attention, time, and money, but from a far enough distance away so they don't actually have to look at us. Going off recent events at an NCART station, you're probably better off just staying home anyway.
An NCART station is stunned by a bloody massacre. The unidentified assailant opened fire on passengers waiting for the train on Platform 2 at Med Center. 10 people are confirmed dead and 16 injured. We advise night citizens to thoroughly consider all transport options to find the safest solution.
What the hell does his bit of advice at the end there even mean? Thoroughly consider all transport options? What does that mean? Did he just tell you to think about it? In like a long-winded way, just think about it. Oh, okay, thought about it. They're all fun. We can't actually find this platform here near the Med Center. You're not normally able to access this area, but we got our special access. This is where that shooting would have taken place. Oddly enough, there's a couple of police officers up here, maybe doing some investigation. Probably not. Thing is, this isn't even the worst shooting in the news.
A cyber psycho attack shocks Wellsprings. Lester McKenzie, age 28, opened fire at the River Mall shopping center. The shooting lasted 10 minutes before the assailant was killed, shortly after MaxTac forces arrived. 35 people were pronounced dead at the scene and another 20 remain in critical condition. The Implant Manufacturers Association has issued a statement in response to the incident, stating, quote, "Our thoughts and prayers go to the victims and their families. We at the IMA extend our sincerest condolences in the wake of this unavoidable tragedy." End quote. River Mall administration has announced plans to reopen within the hour. They have offered a 50% discount at participating stores to the families of the victims.
Thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers. We extend our thoughts and prayers. We've all heard that one quite a bit, haven't we? Unfortunately, thoughts and prayers. I haven't heard thoughts and prayers with a 50% discount, though. That's a new one. The business running the place uses the term unavoidable tragedy. They want you to think this could have happened anywhere. It's not the business, it's not the location that's dangerous. This was unavoidable, like a force of nature. There's nothing that could have been done about it. So please don't use this as a reason not to come here. Then you have the line about the mall reopening within the hour. This is sort of two-sided in my mind. On one side, it's like, yeah, the mall is giving you a 50% discount. Come on back. They want to keep the business flowing. But then there's also an underlying bit of social commentary in that line, talking about how a mass shooting just happened, but we're moving on. We got other things to get to. Are we going to do anything about it? Probably not. On to the next thing. Whatever. This next story ties in and wraps up the last two stories perfectly and shows you exactly what's going on here.
The 27th annual conference of the Implant Manufacturers Association recently came to a close. One of the hottest topics discussed was the ever-increasing rate of cyber psycho attacks. Over the last decade, the number of incidents has increased as much as 43%. Lamar Kalimsky, association chairman, emphasized that it isn't the implants who kill people, but the individuals themselves who misuse their products. A fair point, Mr. Kalimsky.
Uh-oh, that's gonna ruffle some feathers. Yeah, that's definitely a metaphor for mass shootings and guns, especially relating to American culture. People often say, guns don't kill people, people kill people. Well, this cyberware manufacturer is saying, cyberware doesn't kill people, people kill people. You think he might be a little biased, maybe? Maybe just a little teensy-weensy bit biased. And then Arif Lickball comes at the end like, yas, girl, true, so true, good point. Oh, what was that? Immediate contradiction inbound.
More and more patients have been filing into hospitals throughout Night City, with injuries caused by malfunctions in illegally purchased cyberware. Unauthenticated implants have caused several fatal short circuits already. The NCPD urges all cyberware users to buy only from licensed manufacturers. It's worth the investment.
Oh, okay, so it's not cyberware that kills people, it's illegal. It's the illegal cyberware that kills people. Shut up, it's different. It's definitely different. You gotta buy the real thing. If you buy the wrong thing, it'll kill you. Don't go thinking too much. When people kill people using our cyberware, it was them. And when people die wearing cyberware, it was someone else's cyberware. It's very simple. If you're trying to hold a large company accountable, you're barking up the wrong tree.
The NCPD has urged caution when using data terms. A routine inspection has shown many have been corrupted with malware. Police experts have confirmed the identified virus can lead to cyberware failure and, in extreme cases, even death.
Data terms in 2077 are fast travel locations, but they're supposed to be a good bit more than that. These are public databases for information. If you need to find something out, like your local NCART station is closed and you need an alternative, this is where you would go. So the fact that they're killing people is really bad. It's like getting killed by a phone book.
In response to increased gang activity, the mayor's office has raised the public threat level to red. Residents of Arroyo and Watson are advised not to leave their homes after dark and always ensure easy access to protective firearms. Schools and hospitals have been closed until further notice.
They closed the school and the hospital, left the coffee shop and the mall open. I feel like schools are going to keep at least some of the kids out of gang violence, and the hospitals are where people affected by the gang violence need to go. Why are we closing those places?
Is it the end of eastbound traffic jams on the I-9? Long-awaited repairs to Ring Road East may begin as early as next month. Estimates put investment into this major artery at close to 20 million euro dollars, with priority being placed on efficiency and anti-nomad barriers.
This seems like a simple story, and it is, but it grounds the world into something that would be important to people in everyday life. You need road networks in cities. It's important to them, and having a functioning ring road that takes you to the different sections of the city efficiently is very relevant for your average person. A ring road, sometimes it's called something else, maybe a beltway, is a highway that loops around a city. It just makes it easier to get to different parts of the city if you're further away. You don't have to drive through all of the traffic lights and stop signs, local traffic, things like that. You just hop on the beltway. It's a lot more efficient. What if you want to leave the city, though? What's going on with those roads?
Violence continues to plague the Badlands. Shootings have been reported along the 166, and 101. Eyewitness accounts point to inter-clan disputes. Attacks on unaffiliated persons has not exceeded the average. However, in an abundance of caution, the NCPD has raised the threat level to 2, advising travelers to avoid side roads. We'll continue to keep you informed as the situation develops.
You'll start to notice a trend here, the demonization of nomads. Now, of course, nomads can be dangerous and they do fight, but there's a particular angle these news broadcasts take with them. For example, after the bomb was dropped in Night City as a result of the conflict between Arasaka and Militech, nomads came in and played a crucial role in rebuilding and providing structure during a time of need. Was it altruistic? No, that's not what I'm saying. They weren't doing it out of the kindness of their hearts. They had incentives. But this is all conveniently left out after corporations have come back in and taken over the city. Nomads and megacorps will always end at odds because nomads entirely reject the society that megacorps have built. If everyone lived like nomads, then the megacorporations wouldn't really have any power. So you best believe the megacorp news stations will take any chance they can get to portray nomads as nothing more than crazed psychopaths and lunatics.
Numerous nomad caravans have appeared near city limits in North Oak and Charter Hill. Some reports suggest some of the violent vagrants may have entered Night City despite the NCPD's best efforts. If you spot a nomad, remember that you have the right to self-defense. With such dangerous criminals, warning shots alone are not considered an effective deterrent.
Again, notice the incredibly subtle, not so subtle messaging there at the end. Warning shots are not considered an effective deterrent. What he's essentially telling people to do is if you see a nomad, shoot on sight. He's not saying seek help, call the police, go to a safe place. He's effectively trying to militarize the armed populace of Night City to just shoot at the corporate enemy. I let you have the right to self-defense, murder people. Here's another broadcast where they're eager to point the finger at the nomads.
We return to today's breaking story of an attack on a Santo Domingo power station. The assailants, who remain unidentified, broke into the station and severely damaged the cooling system, which led to a sharp spike in EMP emissions. In the immediate aftermath of the attack, many residents nearest to the power station suffered critical implant failures. So powerful were the EMP, the entire city was plunged into darkness for several hours. Reports from the NCPD suggest nomad outlaws are likely to blame and are currently weighing plans for retaliation.
He says the assailants remain unidentified, so they don't know who they are, and without any evidence, they point the finger at the nomads. Yes, Pan Am is involved, but V isn't necessarily a nomad, and really, this situation doesn't have to do with a nomad clan. Here's a slightly adjusted version of of the report if V had a high-tech skill and caused less damage in the process.
Fortunately, most nearby populated areas avoided exposure to the EMP. Considering the scale of the damage, human casualties were held at a minimum. Reports from the NCPD suggest nomad outlaws are likely to blame and are currently weighing plans for retaliation.
Still blames the nomads.
A raid on an organic meat trafficking ring, and a malaria outbreak in the Glen. But first, we turn to a mysterious connectivity failure in Pacifica. Most of the district was cut off from the world for several hours, as residents could not connect to the net, local subnets, or comm systems. The NCPD has urged calm, claiming the outage was a result of standard maintenance work.
In this instance, it seems they're lying about V's escapades to the Blackwall with the Voodoo Boys, trying to say, nothing actually happened, don't worry, we have everything under control. Speaking of Pacifica, there are some future plans for the abandoned district. Take a listen.
What's next for Pacifica? The district, formerly designed as an oasis of luxury, has become a den for violent gangs and drug addicts. Kang Tao recently expressed interest in the purchase of Pacifica property, with the aim of constructing a new server and logistics center. The city government has openly considered selling the land for a single euro-dollar in a symbolic gesture, provided that Kang Tao demonstrates commitment to eradicating the district's criminal presence.
These kind of broadcasts are some of my favorite because they just show that this world is going to change and move. By the sounds of that report, there's nothing good in the future for the people living in Pacifica, whether they're in a gang or not. It also indicates that China's Kang Tao is a growing player in the corporate ecosystem. Arasaka is the only corporation that has an entire district to themselves in Arasaka waterfront, but if Kang Tao got all of Pacifica, that would really shake things up. What's the NCPD doing during all this?
In other news, the NCPD welcomes a boost to its authority. As of today, the police may detain criminal suspects for up to 1 year without formal prosecution. The NCPD scored another victory with the adoption of a policy allowing the shooting of a limb to be considered a warning shot, a change that should keep officers safer.
This broadcast made me wonder if suspects can be detained for up to a year, is there a prison in Night City? And there actually is. The scariest part of this is you could be a suspect, not actually have done anything, but get put in this prison where you're forced to wear a brain dance that makes you experience your death over and over again. Sounds like less of a prison and more of a cyber-psycho factory. So you're stuck in this prison for over a year going insane, they let you go eventually because you didn't do anything, but now you've lost your mind, you commit some sort of cyber-psycho attack, and then you go to the Los Padres Penitentiary somewhere south of Night City. This is max tax, super high security prison where they're capable of holding cyber-psychos such as yourself. By the sounds of it, they've been preparing for your release.
The Force has ordered 20 of the Centaur units to be used in preventative patrols and MaxTac forces. A ceremonial signing of the partnership took place at City Hall. Police Commissioner Coleridge and Militech Government Relations Executive Anthony Gilchrist were in attendance.
Officers in the NCPD put their lives on the line for us every day. They defend all Night citizens against gang violence, nomad outlaws, and cyber-psycho attacks. Thanks to Militech's Centaur-class exosuits, they can keep themselves safe. And all the rest of us even safer.
Here's a slightly altered broadcast where Meredith Stout gives that speech instead of Anthony Gilchrist.
Officers in the NCPD put their lives on the line for us every day. They defend all Night citizens against gang violence, nomad outlaws, and cyber-psycho attacks. Thanks to Militech's Centaur-class exosuits, they can keep themselves safe. And all the rest of us even safer.
Once again, Militech has proven its vital role in the reconstruction of America. After the break, what quality is most important when hiring a personal bodyguard for your child?
I'm sure you noticed it was the same exact speech. The NCPD will take your life, and they'll also take credit for your hard work when you're trying to help River solve the Peter Pan investigation.
Thanks to an anonymous tip, the NCPD managed to reach them in time. The rescued teens remain in critical but stable condition. Harris held the boys aged between 13 and 18 on his abandoned farm. This heinous case is just another example of Night City's continued moral collapse. Crime in Night City is now double the rate than in the new United States. At this point, it seems a near guarantee that closer ties with the Union would help to get this city's security back on the right track.
There's that N54 Noosa propaganda slipping it again. At least she doesn't blame you if the investigation goes poorly.
The NCPD did not manage to locate the abducted boys in time to save their lives. They were found on an abandoned farm, dead from dehydration and exhaustion. The case of Peter Pan has proved yet another example of Night City's moral collapse.
She was probably distracted by the even better opportunity to push Noosa's narrative. Surprisingly, WNS isn't coming back with a counter-narrative, but they do provide us with some spicy dashcam footage.
A routine roadside inspection led the NCPD to the trail of a dangerous abductor and murderer. The incident occurred at the intersection of 7th and 15th Avenue. The following police footage was captured at the scene.
1038, I repeat at 1038. Registration 2AA6244. We're exiting our vehicle now.
Copy that.
Out of the car! Hands up!
Easy, officer. Relax.
Shut your mouth!
Oh, shit.
We have a 1053 and a 1054. I repeat, a 1053 and a 1054.
The boy from the footage is LeVar Martinez, age 17. His parents reported his disappearance over a month ago. Unfortunately, LeVar's life could not be saved. His body could not withstand the severe septic shock he suffered. Autopsy reports revealed the teenager was given dangerously high levels of hormones, anabolic steroids, and stimulants. The possessions and genetic material of 7 other missing teens were also found in the car, belonging to one Anthony Harris. Unfortunately, their fates remain unknown. Although the criminal widely known as Peter Pan survived the gunshot, he has not regained consciousness, making interrogation impossible.
Am I missing something, or did they just report the news? Like, they just did it. They just reported the news. There's not really...
New details have emerged on the attempted abduction of Hanako Arasaka at the Arasaka-sponsored Dashi Parade. Early accounts first reported that the assailants struck as the parade was in full swing. They overwhelmed and seized control of the Arasaka heiress's parade platform. Fortunately, Arasaka security forces, under the personal direction of Yorinobu Arasaka, quickly tracked down the abductors and secured Hanako-sama. Yorinobu-sama has since issued a public statement condemning the perpetrators' deplorable actions and promising swift retribution.
To those who raise a hand against the Arasaka family, I promise you, we will rip the hand off and pour salt in the bloody stump.
Notice how in this instance, despite a major crime occurring, we're not involving the NCPD because Arasaka doesn't want information getting leaked that could potentially hurt their company. The NCPD gets ignored and Arasaka Private Security handles the situation. They're more equipped to do so anyway. Anyway, how about a break from all the gloom and doom and the world is so bad, oh my gosh, and just hear some cool tech news.
At a press conference earlier today, scientists from Kierling University demonstrated the extraordinary capability of a next-gen 3D printer they have dubbed Artifacts. Artifacts is capable of interpreting the user's brain activity to then produce the object they have visualized in their mind. The printer, which has been engineered in cooperation with Swiss giant Moore Technologies, is expected to be commercially available as early as next year.
It sounds cool, but it would also be incredibly dangerous. Not to be a party pooper, but you could just imagine a bomb and then have one. Not to mention, this could also be a BS story and this product never actually comes to market. It's just a story being used to drive up these companies' values. Geez, guy, so cynical. The tech always comes with a twist.
Singhad Studios has announced a new way we, as a society, can care for our elderly. Rather than place our infirm elders in an expensive care center on the other side of town, we will soon be able to connect them to the Silver Days system. Silver Days is an advanced feeder unit adapted to the needs of our eldest relatives. The all-inclusive system consists of a catheter, aspirator, IV drip, nutrition tube, and most importantly, a next-gen brain dance wreath. Your loved ones will be able to forget the worries of today and return to the simpler times of their youth, all reconstructed from your own personal family archives. Don't waste another minute. Pre-order Silver Days now to receive a 10% discount.
Sure, just shove grandma in a box and turn her into a vegetable, why not? This is one of those broadcasts where something nightmarish is pitched to the viewer but it's done in a positive tone to make it sound like it's something good. Instead of spending time with their families and passing on the wisdom of how the hell they survived to old age, they're just gonna close themselves off in a tube, become addicted to the brain dance experience of their youth, and then completely detach before they eventually die.
Scientists from Biodyne Systems have announced a breakthrough in the fight against multiple sclerosis. MS is one of the few diseases that cannot be cured by replacing the affected tissue with implant technology. But the experts at Biodyne have created nanites that, when injected into the spinal cord, provide long-term uninterrupted repair to the neural tissue. The cost of this cutting-edge therapy treatment has been listed at €700,000 per month.
You can see based on that story that the advancements in science and technology either come with a massive drawback or they cost so much that the average person, hell, the vast majority of people, will never get the benefits of them.
The Night City Office of Cybernetic Technology has been formally dissolved as a result of budget cuts. The office, formerly responsible for implant certification, will shutter its doors next Tuesday. The administrators of implant authorization are now the manufacturers, guided by the standards they themselves have established.
And that's the exact point. If manufacturers are dissolving third-party regulatory bodies, there's nobody there to hold them accountable. And when you get harmed by their technologies, these news stations aren't going to cover your story. They're more likely to try and sell you a pair of sneakers you can't afford.
After the break, we take a closer look at the new sneakers from Avante that hit Night City shelves tomorrow.
Avante is a luxury brand of clothing. We can actually find their stores throughout Night City. Thing is, back in 2020, they were a weapons manufacturer, but now by 2077, they seem to have transitioned fully into clothing. Where is all of this going, though? What is the point of the news? It's more than just propaganda. It's not as simple as state-sponsored media. There are multiple factions controlling the broadcasts. But even if they disagree about who should be in power, their messaging is clear. Your problems are destroyed cities, ecological disasters, criminals, the NCPD, nomads, homeless people. It's the downtrodden, the impoverished, the overworked and underpaid, the rejects and the outcasts. That's where your focus should be. Look at yesterday's tragedy, but don't look at who caused it. It's like worrying about broken fingers after your arm's been cut off.